is gone, his campaign manager, finance director, the deputy campaign manager. Oh, but in a statement, Robinson says he appreciates the efforts of these team members who have made the difficult choice to step away. That is almost objectively funny to me. Objectively, I respect the difficult choice those people made to leave that burning building. That must have been really hard for them to come to that conclusion. But nevertheless, this man is still trying to keep going. We're right in the process right now of forming a team that we know can still lead us to victory. So we have full confidence in our ability to keep going. So it kind of sounds like Robinson has concepts of a team, but maybe not an actual team since everyone jumped ship. And he's really out here. He's really out here campaigning. Like he thinks he's going to get elected. And I can't stress this enough. He could. He could. That's terrifying. But honestly, things are looking a lot worse for him because his Republican clique has like cut him out of all of their photos. Trump avoids Black Nazi Mark Robinson as GOP cuts his cash. So both Trump and his vice presidential pick JD Vance visited North Carolina. And despite the fact that Robinson once had Trump's full endorsement, this time they didn't offer him a word of support. Trump once compared Robinson to Martin Luther King, but he didn't mention him once at a rally in North Carolina on Saturday. Meanwhile, JD Vance fended off questions about the scandal while making it clear that Robinson was on his own. I think it's up to Mark Robinson to make his case to the people of North Carolina that those weren't his statements, and I'm gonna let him make that case. They're also blocking his bag. The Republican Governors Association suggests it won't spend any more on race for North Carolina governor. We don't comment on internal strategy or investment decisions, but we can confirm what's public. Our current media buy in North Carolina expires tomorrow, and no further placements have been made. Even the people who can't outright say no came out and said no. Imagine getting ghosted by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Like, to live your life in a way where you wind up in that position is crazy. Also, I feel very compelled to mention that even if the Minnesota account was AI, there is no way on God's green earth that this man should be the governor of anywhere. North Carolina Republican nominee Mark Robinson's most reprehensible comments. So this is actually from before this whole scandal dropped. These are things that he said very publicly with his whole chest, both before and during his political career. So we've got him calling the Holocaust a bunch of hogwash, just multiple posts of Holocaust denial. In 2014, he posted a cute little quote on his profile about how pride in one's own race is also a normal and healthy sentiment. This cute quote, of course, was credited to Adolf Hitler, like literally actually Hitler. I'm so sick of seeing and hearing people still talk about Nazis and Hitler and how evil and manipulative they were. Newsflash, people, the Nazis are gone. We did away with them in 2017. Oh, I wish. Anyway, we've also got him calling transgenderism and homosexuality filth. And yes, I called it filth, he says. Very proud of that one. This one's a doozy. I absolutely want to go back to the America when women couldn't vote, Robinson said. Do you know why? Because in those days, we had people who fought for real social change, and they were called Republic. Wait, okay, pause. So you want to go back to when women didn't have rights because you liked the fact that people were fighting for more rights. First of all, you are the dumbest person alive. But secondly, did you miss all the fighting for rights that's going on in the world right now? The real social change is imminent as long as people like you just go away. He also said, we are called to be led by men. When it was time to face down Goliath, God sent David, not Davida, David. God also sent Moses, not Mama Moses, Daddy Moses, he added. Okay. That's interesting. He's posting a meme saying Beyonce's songs sound like satanic chants, calling Michelle Obama man. Okay, we actually don't have to go through all this. Calling the allegations against Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein an Illuminati plot. It literally goes on and on and on, mocking mass shooting survivors on multiple occasions. I actually can't go through the rest of this. I'm not even trying to be funny. Your Honor, he's trash. Pack him up. But yeah, that could happen. Him being the governor, maybe vote. Maybe if you're in North Carolina, try to not let that happen, please. Thank you, for the love of God. But that's my take on the situation. Dave doesn't want to offer a take on the situation because he says I've been taking his statements out of context using the power of AI. But I'm of course excited to hear your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where a layman would ask you to subscribe, like the video, or leave a comment. But I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback. Because I am of course running a 100% completely, totally, all the way, okay, maybe not really, somewhat unaccredited university. Probably. Just ask anybody in the student body and they'll confirm it for you. We're totally.
I'm following the Diddy case very closely. I think this is a super serious one that's up there with like the same level of Epstein almost. And in following the case so closely, where I have peepers on it at all times, I'm also following his lawyer pretty closely. So I've watched every interview that his lawyer has done. Good old Mark. A real patriot. The majority of what Mark says is just boilerplate standard lawyer lie speak, just a bunch of babble where when confronted with questions, just basically deflects it or reshapes it. So if he's confronted with a question about the case, he will do his best to steer it differently. So in one interview, someone asked him point blank what he thinks about that video that shows Diddy beating the shit out of a woman. And he says, yeah, that's bad. He basically just says, like, it's not good, you know, beating women, boo, I'm not a fan of that. But we have to remember, he's not being indicted for beating women. Wow, Mark, checkmate. Right you are. We do need to keep that in mind. Surely this video evidence of P. Diddy beating the shit out of Cassie has nothing to do with anything else. You've nailed it there, Phoenix Wright. You're a real shining star, Mark. And that's kind of what he does. He'll take things, be like, oh yeah, no, beating women, not good. But that is not what he's indicted for. In fact, they're coming after him for sex trafficking. Can you believe it? What nonsense. It's ridiculous, and we're going to prove it in court. We'll give him the razzle-dazzle, a little bit of that slam jam, thank you, ma'am, and prove that P. Diddy is an innocent man. It's a bunch of fucking nothing, a giant nothing burger with the way Mark talks about it. I know he knows that P. Diddy is guilty, but he's about to get a fat paycheck for it. So there's not a whole lot I want to talk about when it comes to Mark's interviews or statements, but there are two interviews I want to show you and really talk about because they are beautiful. So Mark's been getting asked a lot about the baby oil. Mark has to defend so many awful, fucking heinous, and downright weird things for his client, and he has to defend all of them, mind you, which includes the fucking baby oil. And the way that he tries to defend it is so silly. He is a fucking amazing clown. So if like this whole lawyer thing doesn't work out for him, or if he wants to retire and just like do something on the side, this dude absolutely needs to get into like honking his nose professionally, because this shit is great.
They call them freak-offs. But, you know, back when I was a kid in the late 70s, they were called threesomes.
If these are genuinely threesomes, how do you explain 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
I don't know where the number 1,000 came.
The U.S. Attorney said it.
I can't imagine it's thousands. I mean, you know.
There's already so much to unpack there. He is trying with a straight face to say that the freak-off parties are just threesomes. Brother, open your eyes. There are videos from some of the freak-offs, and it's a lot different than what you're trying to paint it as here. That is just so disingenuous and delusional. I get that it's his job, but man, don't insult the intelligence of every human being on the planet. It's just one Google search away. You can see it's not just threesomes, and Goober here is trying to pull the wool over your eyes by trying to convince you that it's just threesomes. Well, back in my day, we used to call that a threesome. Now all of a sudden it's a freak-off or some shit. Like, what are you talking about? That's so dumb. But anyway, to the baby oil. He immediately tries to downplay it like, oh, it wasn't 1,000. Where'd that made-up number come from? That's a fucking fake news fib right there. And the interviewer's like, no, that came from the attorney. Like, no, that's the official statement. He's like, no, they must be lying. Surely they're lying about that.
And I'm not really sure what the baby oil has to do with anything.
They're essentially saying it's a lubricant for an orgy.
I guess. I don't know what you need 1,000. One bottle of baby oil goes a long way. I don't know what you need 1,000 for. I mean, he has a big house. He buys in bulk. You know, I think they have Costco's in every place where he has a home.
You can see the cogs in his brain turning in real time as he starts to come to the realization that there is no way to try and justify or explain away 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That quantity is absurd, unfathomable even. And he starts to like break it down, and he starts to go like and argue against his client, like 1,000 bottles of baby oil? That just doesn't make any sense. Who would possibly need that amount of baby oil? Do you know how much mileage you can get out of a single bottle? The best he could come up with is saying that since his houses are close to Costco, he's probably just buying it in bulk. I decided to look it up just out of curiosity what the biggest bundle of baby oil you could even buy in bulk is, and the biggest pack that I could find was 5. A 5-pack of baby oil. He would need 200 packs of that. Just picture that for a moment. Imagine stacking 200 packs of baby oil, 5 packs. If you stack them on top of each other, from bottom to top, it'll probably be about as high as a small office building. Like, that is crazy. And you're going to sit there in front of God and anime and try and make the claim that the freak-offs are just threesomes and the 1,000 bottles of baby oil is unrelated somehow or used for threesomes. Like, Mark, please, brother, oh my God.
I mean, have you sat in a parking lot of a Costco and see what people walk out of there with?
Not 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
I don't think it was 1,000. I think it was. Let's just say it's a lot. Okay.
No, that's not okay, Mark. Why don't we use the actual U.S. Attorney's report on how much baby oil they confiscated from his property? You can't just wipe your ass and throw that number away because it makes your client look like an even bigger psychopath. You can't do that, Mark.
I've been with him since 8 o'clock this morning, and it's about almost 3 o'clock now. He's just laser focused. He's engaged. He's helpful. He's confident. You know, we're going through our defense as we do every day, and his spirits are relatively good.
Hey, Mark, I just want to say that information does not make me happy. I don't want to hear that P. Diddy is in good spirits. He shouldn't be. That guy is an absolute fiend. He's a villain. He is evil. I don't want to hear that he's in good spirits or having a positive outlook on things. I want to hear that he's fucking miserable, because that's what he deserves for what he's done for the last few fucking decades that he has been terrorizing the entire music industry and ruining lives. So, Mark, your reporting right there actually put a frown on my face. You know that? I want you to know that.
How do you explain the baby oil and the lubricants? 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
I don't think it was 1,000. I think it was a lot. I mean, there's a Costco right down the street. You know, I think Americans buy in bulk, as we know. And, you know, this is consensual adults doing what consensual adults do. You know, we can't get so puritanical in this country to think that somehow sex is a bad thing, because if it was, there'd be no more people.
He's really sticking to the Costco theory here. Just sit outside of Costco and look what people come out with. It's crazy stuff. I'm sure he's not the only person to walk out of Costco with 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's definitely the normal thing that happens. And then he tries to put a spin on it that it was consensual adults engaging in sexual activities. Mark, one of the big things about the freak-offs is the non-consensual nature of some of the shit that P. Diddy would force the guests to do. It's like a crucial component of this. And I understand, like, he can't go out there and say anything like that, but the evidence is overwhelming. So I just don't, I hate hearing lawyers speak about a case in a situation like this where the client they're defending is clearly guilty, because then you can just see the lies spilling out of their mouth, and it's just an awful thing to even just look at. But he then does try and put like that last little bow on it by saying like, oh, we can't be like this. We can't be all yucky about hearing about sex. It's important. Imagine if there wasn't sex. There'd be no more people. Whoa. Galaxy brain, Mark. That, wow. I see why they pay you the big bucks. But yeah, I just wanted to show you these two interviews here because I love seeing Mark squirm when it comes to the baby oil statement and the baby oil line of questioning. It's really just so good to watch Mark try and tackle it. So yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
Run the country.
Because I believe that we're suffering from a...
Bro, she was way too quick in retaliating to that. Like, that's shocking, because I think he did a good job, but she literally didn't even flinch. I think it's finally time. Not for gaming, and even if we do gaming, it would not be the gaming that you think we're going to be gaming. It would be Warhammer 40K, the not woke game. But it's time for the Can One Woke Teen Survive 20 Trump Supporters, the Jubilee video. I've been seeing a lot of the clips from this.
Would be better than Trump. The first category is character.
Speaking of which, if we're bringing up stuff from the past, we can say she slept with Willie Brown, broke up a family just to get her job.
She got 4.5 million votes to get into AG and DA and slept with 0 of them.
You don't know that, though. Do you know that? No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
You think that she slept with 4.5 million people getting her position of power?
But the one person that she did
serious?
was the most important person.
Did you just say that she had to sleep with 4.5 million?
No.
My name is Dean Withers. I'm a 19-year-old liberal. I do political debate for a living. And today, I'm surrounded by 20 Trump supporters. My first claim is Donald Trump is a racist.
Yeah, so I don't understand how people get this idea that Trump is racist. You know, my family came from a communist country. They came from Cuba, and they came from Mexico. So I don't see anything or any statement that he's ever made that's racist. I mean, there's accusations, but there's no facts behind it.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that all Hispanics are illegal immigrants and they came here and
This, for the record, that guy in the blue suit has a record of stalking. Isn't he also like a Republican operative? Am I crazy?
documented is not true because my family came here on both sides through the legal immigration process, not illegally here.
Okay, so that was a bold claim. You just said that, there's no facts to substantiate the idea that Donald Trump is going to be a racist. So in the 1970s, there's civil litigation held against him by the DOJ of the state of New York for literally not renting to black people. What they did is they'd send in quote-unquote testers to his rental properties at the time. They'd send in a white person. The white person would ask the property manager if they had any available properties to rent. They'd say, yes, here we go, here's a housing application. Then they'd send in a black tester that asked the same question, and then they'd actually be denied. When this was investigated by the DOJ, the property manager told them that this was just a quote-unquote order from the higher-up, from this boss, from Donald Trump. And then they investigated Donald Trump, brought civil litigation against him, and they essentially determined that, he wasn't renting to black people, in which he then had to promise the DOJ that he was no longer going to racially profile in his housing application, and even had to put ads in the New York newspaper at the time, saying that he'd rent to black people.
So what you're saying is basically he's not renting to black people, but yet he employs a lot of minorities, he employs a lot of blacks, Asians, Hispanics onto his staff. So why wouldn't he be renting to black people? That doesn't make any sense. Also,
because it's an example of racism.
But also is an example that the Department of Justice is weaponized against people that do something in life.
Can you give me any evidence for that?
I'll give you evidence of that. Yes, I will. Because Trump was political for a very long time. He made political statements. He was very unpopular with a lot of Democrats. He would say things that they didn't like, and they would go after him. They would weaponize the Department of Justice, just like they are right now. They're weaponizing the Department of Justice against him. They're using the government for their political power to go against him because they disagree with his political opinion. That's what they do. The Democrats have been going after him for years, even considering he used to be a registered Democrat. So I don't believe that Trump is racist whatsoever. I don't see that because I see his employees. I've been to a lot of his properties in the past, and I know that he hires a lot of minorities. So I don't believe that to be true.
Okay, so your claim here is that, well, he actually didn't do what the DOJ accused him and held him liable for doing.
Yeah, but the DOJ says a lot of things that doesn't make it true.
Can I finish real quick? So you're saying that the DOJ actually was unfairly persecuting Donald Trump, a political opponent. In the 70s, he wasn't running for any public office, so I don't know why you'd say that was a political opponent. But maybe we could look at a more intuitive example.
Well, he's made political statements in the 70s as well.
Okay, okay. So your claim is that, the DOJ was unfairly persecuting him. Do you have any evidence of that?
If you go back, do you have any evidence why the DOJ was investigating him in the first place?
Yeah, because they'd got...
There's no evidence. I mean, the DOJ has been an illegitimate organization for a very long time. Okay. They make a lot of statements, but it doesn't mean that they're going to actually go through with anything. Nothing really happened at the end of the day. It was just a witch hunt at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think you have any evidence for the claim that it was a witch hunt. I think that at the end of the day, this is a conspiracy theory. I think that Donald Trump
Conspiracy theory.
Mind if I finish real quick? Thanks. So I think that at the end of the day, this is going to be a conspiracy theory. I think that the DOJ does this. That Donald Trump would perpetuate a lot of conspiracy theories. He did this with the outcome of the 2020 election. But let's look at another example that's not coming from like the DOJ or like the criminal justice system. And we're like referencing like 2012 through 2014. Donald Trump said that because Barack Obama is black, he's obviously not a U.S.-born citizen. So therefore, he
did not say that he was black. He's not a U.S.-born citizen.
Well, let's talk about the birther movement, right? So I just have a quick question. Would you say trying to take...
There was legitimacy questioning his...
Oh, damn, dude. So when they put up the flags that, for those of you who don't remember the rules, if they put up 11 flags, then he has to get swapped out. But because I think Trump supporters are, I believe, dumber than Kamala supporters are, the people are probably not going to throw up the flags as fast.
Birth certificate.
Questioning his birth certificate. What's the legitimacy?
Questioning because his family came from Kenya. How is he running for president?
Wait, Donald Trump's mother's a Scottish immigrant. Should we question his birth certificate?
They came here through the legal process. He didn't come here through the legal process.
Wait, so you're saying that Obama's parents were undocumented migrants?
One second, I just want to clarify this. Disqualified in his presence.
I just want to answer a question.
Would have disqualified.
I want to ask you a question.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who I'm friends with, looked into the claims of that birth certificate, and there was questions of whether it was falsified.
Wait, so there was a forgery. Actually believe that?
Yes, I do believe that.
Okay, so you were racist just like Donald Trump.
I'm not racist. Oh, wow, you're calling a Hispanic and a Cuban racist.
You might have.
Oh my God, my man thought he deployed that. He thought he had that locked down, dude. Nice. Wow, I can't believe you're calling a Cuban Latino man a racist.
What if I take 30 seconds here? All right. So first of all, yes.
Another white liberal. All right.
All right. Want to start where you guys left off?
Yeah. I think that hopefully we could slow things down a little bit here, have some productive conversation. So, how about I just start off by giving you my reasons why I think that Donald Trump is racist. So, with the last guy, we kind of touched on the civil litigation that was held against him in the 1970s for not renting to black people. But I want to focus upon a more like intuitive example, proponing the idea that Barack Obama was not a U.S.-born citizen. So first, I just want to ask you a very simple question. Would you say trying to take away opportunity from a black man because he's black is racism?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yes, I do believe that.
Okay.
But I think we also have to look into what the administration when he was in office did, not what happened back in 1970 when he wasn't even in office. It was a complete different administration making the rules.
Okay.
When he was in office, he gave opportunity zones, gave funding to HBCUs. He also implemented the First Step Act, which I feel like liberals really focus on, like,
the HBCU bullshit. Dude, every administration has funded HBCUs. And I don't remember the exact details, but Trump administration's funding of HBCUs was not exactly, the Trump administration's HBCU funding wasn't exactly great either.
Prison system has a majority of African Americans in there, so we gave them an opportunity to get out early, to start a new life. So I think if we're going to go back and look at some stuff of the 1970s, that's not really fair, because there's a lot of people on the Democrat side that have done worse things while in office. Joe Biden, who, when he was a senator, pushed to get African Americans incarcerated at a higher rate. Like, actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. And what Trump did in office helped the black community at an exponential amount compared to all the other administrations on the Democratic Party.
Okay, so you're saying what he did in office helped African Americans more than other administrations.
Yeah.
You referenced historically black universities.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much funding he sent to HBCUs?
A decent amount. I can't give you the exact
So the
number.
exact amount was $250 million per year.
Okay.
Do you know how much Obama's administration and Biden's administration have sent?
I would like to hear.
Obama sent $1 billion a year, and Biden sent $4 billion a year. So not only did he decrease funding to historically black universities, all right, but also you referenced the First Step Act there. How did Donald Trump influence the First Step Act to get passed?
Through Congress.
Well, how did he influence that bill through Congress?
Answer that question for me.
because he didn't influence it. In fact, it was proposed to Congress under Obama's administration, and it was shot down. Then something else I did want to
But at the end of the day, as president, he has the ability to sign or send a bill back to Congress, and he signed it. If he was truly racist, he would not have signed it in the first place.
Okay, but
at the end of the day, he still signed it. He has that ability. Just like every president before, if they don't like a bill, they have the ability to send it right back to Congress, and there's congressional means to get it passed without the president's approval. But still, he signed it. If he's really a racist, why did he sign it in the first place?
Yeah, well, I don't think that we could just ignore Trump saying that Obama isn't a U.S.-born citizen and he's probably from Kenya, right? I don't think that we could ignore.
But here's the
do you mind if I finish here, sir?
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think that we could ignore the civil litigation against him in the 1970s for not renting to black people. I don't think we could ignore his recent comments about Kamala Harris saying that she turned black, implying that she wasn't black prior, just because he signed the First Step Act into law. Like, I understand that does do something for the African-American community, but I don't think we could say because he did this one thing that all of these other examples are null and void. You also referenced Joe Biden there. I have no problem saying that Joe Biden has a racist past. And in fact, I think that's something I need to recognize and we should all recognize. But what I can't stand is when I hear people denying Trump's racism, saying it never occurred when it's so obvious.
But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to explain right now is that Biden has signed bills into law, voted for them, that hurt the community. Trump has not done anything to that extent. Sure, he says some things were maybe a little bit iffy way back. You're citing things from back in the 1970s that did not even have that. He couldn't even sign a law or anything like that because he wasn't even in office.
Okay. I guess where I want to start with is looking at the actual word racist. I think nowadays it's a word that people throw around kind of like the word love. It is a very powerful word. It has a lot of negative connotation. It has a lot of power that comes with it. When I think of racist, I think of Hitler, who murdered millions of Jews. When I think of racist, I think of the Ottoman Turks that murdered 1.5 million of my people. I think of that. I don't think of Trump, who maybe he said things in the past, this or that. If we want to go about talking about saying things, Biden said Obama is one of the first mainstream blacks to be bright and intelligent. He said that you can only walk into a 7-Eleven if you have an Indian accent. He has said that if you vote for Trump over him, you're not black. He said so many of these things in his past, and the prompt is talking about, is Trump racist? But to me, it's not about that because of how the media has displayed racism. They just focus on Trump, and it is about both sides. They don't touch upon Biden. They don't talk about Biden. And when you look at his policies, like my friend mentioned, if Trump was a racist, he would not be passing policies. He wouldn't even give $1 to these black universities. If he truly had this, it's an intention of the heart. And I'll go out and I'll step out and say, I'm sure everybody here has said something racist in their life. That doesn't make you a racist. It's kind of like if you weigh 400 pounds and you eat celery, you're not skinny. All these examples that you're talking about are from years and years ago. What has he done that's racist in the last maybe 5-10 years?
10 years ago, 2014, Trump was actively promoting Barack Obama's birther myth, the idea that he was not born in the
You already said that example. Give me something new, because that's...
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. I mean, you're asking for some of the last 5 to 10 years. That was 10 years ago. I thought that I'd just go over that again. Okay. Another reason why I wanted to go over that again with you is because how intuitively racist it is, right? Denying or saying that a black man should have less opportunity because of the color of his skin is very obviously racist.
When did he make that comment?
Yeah, so the whole birther myth with Barack Obama, right, essentially hoped to achieve that he wasn't born in the U.S., he was born in Kenya.
I mean, there's also one of my favorite ones is when he said that a Mexican-American judge, like an American judge of Mexican descent, could not adequately legislate, or could not adequately adjudicate over his court proceedings because he was Mexican. That was, I mean, dude, there's so much. Like, Donald Trump's racism is such a target-rich environment, you know?
Yeah, and because he's not a U.S.-born citizen, he shouldn't have the opportunity to run for U.S. president. The only reason he said that is because of the color of Barack Obama's skin.
But has he explicitly said that specifically because he's black, or are you just taking that assumption?
Okay, so what else? What explanation do we have here?
I've said everything I need to say. I'm waiting on you.
Okay, so I mean, well, yeah, I think that looking at Barack Obama, saying that he was born in Africa and then even denying his birth certificate from Hawaii, still like attributing his birth to Africa, I don't really see any other explanation apart from that, besides the fact that Barack Obama has black skin. And then another example
that's
from
also a comment. That wasn't a racist action. That was a comment. What action has he taken part in the last 5-10 years that have been racist against not even just blacks, against other races?
All right, first, I don't think that we should call like African Americans like blacks. I think that's a dehumanizing word. But second of all,
your opinion, but
okay, sorry. Second of all, right? Even if we look at like the last month or two, I'd say that same Kamala Harris, right, quote unquote, turned black, implying that she wasn't black prior. That's another racist comment. We could also reference that.
Because she plays with that. One day she's Indian, one day she's black.
That's not true.
Hello.
Howdy.
Very nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well.
So, you're looking back at Donald Trump's history. One thing I do want to say, I don't know if you are aware, Palm Beach didn't used to let African Americans there. Donald Trump sued the city of Palm Beach to allow black membership at Mar-a-Lago. That is not racist. I think one of the problems that we have a lot on the left, every time there's a disagreement, we get thrown, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're this, you're that. And it dissolves the discussions that we should be having on policies. Secondly, Donald Trump worked with Senator Scott to create opportunity zones in black communities. If he was truly a racist, it's not something that he would do. So I think the whole premise is he's a racist, he's a sexist, takes away from policy positions that we should be discussing. If we go to the border and we talk about murders, yeah, they are happening. Laken Riley is now dead. We have 300,000 missing migrant children known sold into the sex trade, per the last IG report. These are important issues. Our economy is an important issue.
You mind if I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Are you a U.S.-born citizen?
100%.
You're statistically speaking 4 times more likely to commit a violent crime than an undocumented migrant. So when you kind of virtue signal on behalf of that,
they shouldn't be here.
Okay. All right.
And and my husband's an immigrant.
Okay. Yeah, but
a legal immigrant.
Wait, what? Wait, is she saying and he shouldn't be here? Like what? Oh, she said legal. Okay, my bad. For a second, I thought she was just leaking. Like yeah, my husband is an illegal immigrant and he should not be in this country. You know what I mean?
Came here legally.
Okay, I understand.
We've got 100 ISIS in our country right now that was reported. We've got gotaways. We've got Tende de Aragua. I've interviewed Oscar Blue, who's been through the Darien Gap 4 times. People are dying.
Okay, so you're saying that we have a crisis at the southern border.
Well, I'm saying that you're saying that Donald Trump is racist. Donald Trump loves America.
Okay. Well, first of all,
and he puts Americans first.
I want to ask you one simple question first, and maybe we could get back to the prompt. Do you think that we have a crisis at the southern border today?
100%.
So you'd say that we also had a crisis at the southern border at the end of Trump's term because we have the same amount of daily crossings today than then?
No, we do not have.
Yes, we have about 2,400 crossings
that is
a day.
True. That is not true. We have up to 14,000 crossings a day. The Biden-Harris administration put us back into what's called the Global Compact of Migration. They are now using an app where they use our refugee resettlement program to fly people into our country to different states. So for you to say that the Trump administration that did not have catch and release, that is not, and Biden put it back in. And then we also had Remain in Mexico, which on day 1 of Biden's administration,
It's just racism, mental illness. I mean, yeah, that's like 90% of right-wing commentary. Most of what holds the Republican right together is just that.
Wiped out.
Because it was ineffective. I mean, we can
it was very effective.
Do you mind if I talk real quick?
It's just propaganda. It's what you've heard from CNN and MSNBC.
Actually, how about I provide you a source that isn't CNN, isn't MSNBC, and it's actually a...
Yeah, by the way, she's talking about illegal immigration being a problem, but her examples are of legal immigration, which includes her husband, which is why a lot of these people play fast and loose with the truth, okay? Like, for her, she does not understand the fundamental reality that the difference between a legal immigrant and an illegal immigrant is just paperwork, okay? And the difference between her and a legal or illegal immigrant is simply the amount of time that she has spent on U.S. soil. That's usually the difference. Because at a certain point, her family members came not from America, okay? So obviously, this entire argument is cooked. This is precisely the reason why it is hilarious and also openly racist whenever Republicans will be like, I don't care that they're legally here. It's because Kamala waved the wand. That's what J.D. Vance said, right? That's what J.D. Vance said. She met her husband, is a felon, ain't no way. Wait, what? God damn it, dude. Oh, my Lord. Top of the hour streamer. Thanks, man. Republicans have gotten way more comfortable with their narratives, and that's why they now say these things. That's why they now openly say these things like even legal immigrants should be made illegal, because there's no real like economic reason or purpose or anything like this. It's just simply pure animus, pure racist hatred. Okay. Anyway, speaking of pure hatred, the 3-minute ad break is upon us. You guys cooked me.
Source from Donald Trump's rally. So remember when Donald Trump got shot in his ear? What did he have behind him?
It was the chart that showed the lowest crossings in history.
Do you mind if I talk about that chart?
I have the chart. Should we bring it out?
You have the chart with you?
Yeah, I do.
Bring the chart out.
Can you hand me my purse, someone?
Like you have an actual picture of the chart?
I do.
Phenomenal. Let's look at the chart. She's prepared. This is great.
By the way, this entire time she's been like saying some of the most insane, unhinged. Okay. Only 2 people have raised a red flag. Like the quality control from Republicans against other Republicans, this is like a more holistic approach to the subject matter here. But I do find it really interesting because we watched the Charlie Kirk video, which is a professional political pundit going up against like a bunch of TikTokers at the most and just like random liberals at best, right? And in that situation, the way that other liberals that were waiting to talk to Charlie Kirk we're definitely trying to speak over one another. We're flagging each other over and over again, right? Whereas like the conservatives, as long as you say the words, it doesn't matter to them. Does that make sense? As long as you say the words, it doesn't really matter. They're letting her cook. They're letting her sit there and say whatever she wants to. Doesn't matter if it sounds unhinged. It's because conservatives don't believe in debate. They understand they win by just not raising the flag. Why do liberals think this can be done in good faith? They revel in bad faith. Yeah. You are also not going to hear a diversity of opinion on this. Maybe a little bit, but not to the same degree as all the liberals that had so many different perspectives that they wanted to tackle the issue from. It goes to show the ease in which it is to become a conservative spokesperson. Make no mistake, this is not a targeted, deliberate effort to instill some kind of messaging discipline. It is simply because the talking points rely on pre-existing hurt and harm for the most part, and they almost always appeal to the lowest common denominator. They're dumb, and the talking points are also dumb. Do you understand?
Oh, it's on your phone. I thought that you had like an actual...
Well, it's a picture. We can hold it up to the camera if they want to see it.
Okay, well, I mean, well, maybe we could just reference the data on that chart. So you're referencing the Remain in Mexico policy. So that was one of Donald Trump's day ones. He only had increasing border numbers until the day he signed Title 42 into effect. Year by year, they only increase.
Is that why
Remain in Mexico policy, the wall, it was all incredibly ineffective border legislation. He couldn't get Congress together to pass anything, so then he had to reappropriate DOD funds to build the wall.
That's not true. Congress passed H.R. 2. It's been sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk since May of 2023. It was the one bill that would secure the border. Border Patrol has endorsed President Trump. Law enforcement has endorsed President Trump.
Okay.
The Biden administration and the Harris administration have failed this nation, and they have allowed this invasion of our country, and Americans are dying. And sorry, these gang members should not be here.
I have a question. So what do you say if we had an undocumented migrant that was like a felon?
So here's the situation. Here's the problem also. Like, it takes no effort to just tell a lie but an untold amount of effort, countless hours to tell the truth. Correcting the record in these situations is going to be quite difficult to engage with, especially in a quick manner. It's difficult. It's always a very difficult task, which is, part of the problem here as well.
A abuser, right, a violent offender that they shouldn't be allowed in the country?
100%. None of these people should be without process.
Okay, so my question to you would be, well, then why do you want a criminal felon's user to run the country?
Because I believe that we're suffering from an extreme case of lawfare, which I can...
Bro, she was way too quick in retaliating to that. That's shocking because I think he did a good job. He did a good job with that line. That was a bar. But she literally didn't even flinch, dude. She was like, yeah, I don't give a... Yeah, he's a... And I love him. He's my...
Proof. And, when you look at... Let's take, for instance, the New York case. The one that he's going to probably go to jail for, even though he's not guilty.
The 34 felonies?
The 34 felonies that they changed the statute of limitations in order to prosecute him.
Oh,
that they changed.
Your case is confused. So they didn't change any statute of limitations?
Oh, yes, they did.
1 second.
Oh, yes,
I know what you're referencing. If you'll just allow me.
Yes, they did.
You'll just allow me.
But not only.
Do you mind if I just have 30 seconds?
Well, we only have 40 seconds left.
I just want to clarify. They didn't change.
Seconds. You've got the seat the whole time.
Okay, we have 35 seconds left. What were his felonies for?
Okay, so let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the plain and simple fact that they moved the number 3 from Biden's DOJ to a state case. Let's talk about the fact that Mark Pomerantz, who worked in the Biden administration, basically pled the fifth 6 times when he said that he was talking to Bragg. And he would not talk about that. Alvin Bragg ran on getting Trump. Let's talk about Judge Merchant's daughter, Laura, who's making millions for the Harris administration and the Biden administration right now in order to prosecute Trump. That is recusal. It's going to get dropped at the Supreme Court. Alvin Bragg should have recused himself. Judge Merchant should have recused himself.
I like your power. My next claim is Donald Trump doesn't care about the American people.
I completely disagree with.
Wait, it's the same guy again? What is happening, bro? Dude, God, conservatives are such a unit.
Well. Turns out it actually is the guys that you think it is because, folks, according to an indictment that was made public on Wednesday of this week, the Russian government was surreptitiously funneling millions of dollars into the bank accounts of some very prominent right-wing influencers, including Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, Matt Christensen, and Lauren Southern, through a series of shell companies. Now, these content creators have already claimed to have been the victims in this scheme. Victims, despite being paid upwards of $100,000 per video to sow division among American citizens and spread blatant Russian disinformation. Now, it's been a wild 24 hours as we've read through the indictments and witnessed countless video clips and statements that become kind of more damning with the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
Also, I can't even, we're doing a serious story and you got a mustache.
Well, I guess it's time to let everyone know. Internet Today has been a 6-year sting operation, and you are all under arrest. Turn around and spread them.
Get that push broom out of here. It better be gone by Monday.
We'll see. Yeah. Who knows what's going to be there Monday? If I take any more off,
yeah, you're going to
look what happens.
Like
you don't want that.
Tucker Carlson.
Looking like someone else. Of course, it's always seemed extremely suspicious that these particular conservative influencers seem to just always take the side of the Kremlin on countless issues, especially as it relates to the Ukraine war. But it's not just that, it's the general chaos that they've attempted to sow by latching on to the most extreme side of whatever current culture war topic is, the narratives that they've pushed, which have actual real-world consequences for minority groups, and the constant claim that the country is literally on the verge of World War III.
Or a civil war.
Tim Pool, he has tweeted out civil war, I believe, hundreds of times at this point. And never turns out to be the case. But one of these days, he's going to be right.
And then we're all going to look so silly.
We're all going to be like, I'm sorry for making fun of the fact that you wear a beanie at all hours, in all seasons of the year.
Yeah.
So no, we're not at all surprised that these guys were easy marks for a Russian influence campaign. The Kremlin wouldn't even have to change much of their content in the first place. But the financial incentive to keep regurgitating these talking points almost certainly emboldened them.
Yeah, a question that we've seen raised a lot since this news broke is, what's worse? That these guys either knowingly participated in a Russian disinformation campaign, or that they were so stupid they had no idea that they were being played by the Russians, despite mysteriously and suddenly making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, in some cases, to spread disinformation to an audience that was all too eager to believe every word of it.
And this raises an interesting point, because yeah, for most of us, including us, if someone showed up with $100,000 to make one video, I'd be like, something's going on here. This is suspicious. But in the conservative media ecosystem, these people are making bank all the time off of content that does not justify that kind of money, but there are forces at play, usually domestic forces, but in this case, foreign forces, that, they see that spending this money gets results, so they do it.
We'll get to the quote, the exact quote, but at one point, Tim Pool even says that, like, he had only spoken to the person that had secured this deal twice in the last year.
It's so sketchy.
Maybe question it more.
Yeah, anyway, we would love to show a bunch of the clips from their shows as examples of all this. They're out there, but yeah, the one surefire tactic that they still have is copyright claiming any videos that air those clips.
Yeah.
Hell, Tim Pool, in his infinite wisdom, recently said that he was going to sue the Kamala Harris campaign for simply posting one of his clips and quoting him. And yeah, kind of funny that the second he says he's going to sue Kamala Harris, FBI knocking at his door.
That is literally the take of Jack Prilosek.
Oh, it is.
As if the DOJ can whip up this indictment.
Hey, go write a 100-page indictment. We got, I don't know, 12 hours. We're indicting, we're going to whip up a conspiracy out of whole cloth overnight because some YouTuber hasn't even filed a lawsuit, just says he's going to.
And then also we're going to need a ton of information, including wire transfers, Discord conversations.
Got to make it look really believable.
Just absolutely insane.
These are the people we're dealing with. They're not very smart.
But since we can't show clips, we can at least quote from one of the more egregious clips that are making the rounds. Keeping in mind that this dude was allegedly paid millions of dollars by Russia to produce content in recent months. Here's what Tim Pool said about Ukraine recently while getting very angry and literally pounding his desk.
I love when he gets angry because, like, I think in his mind, he's like, I'm getting real fucking, I'm instilling fear. I'm really projecting confidence and strength, but he
comes off as a toddler throwing a fit.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's a quote from the video that's making the rounds, and the clip will be linked down below. This is what he said. "This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress again, one of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia."
Wow, okay. I mean, listen, like I think there are valid criticisms of the U.S. relationship with Ukraine, but this is literally just the exact position of the Russian government.
And as we'll see later on, going down the line of a bunch of issues that are very real in America, their entire purpose is to point out these things and exacerbate them through people like this to kick up storm and sow division. That's the entire point. We saw it happen between Black Lives Matter and all this stuff back in during the pandemic in 2016. There's multiple books written about it by people who literally built the programs that allowed them to do this. There's a great one by the guy who helped code Cambridge Analytica called Mindfuck.
Yeah, they're just turning up the thermostat and getting everyone all agitated.
But of course, that sounds pretty suspicious, even when he originally said it. And it actually sounds kind of treasonous now that the funding has been exposed.
Yeah, Tim.
But Pool has gone into complete chaos mode in the hours since the indictment was released, refuting previous claims, making up new ones, and continuing to dig his hole deeper. Also, just putting out numerous contradictory claims as jokes. But we'll get into that.
Doth protest.
We'll get into that in a second.
So the company that they were all being paid to produce content for was called Tenet Media.
And I want to be clear.
No relation to Christopher Nolan's film, which I still haven't seen.
The producing content thing, as clarified by their own statements, and I want to be very clear here because whatever, they were licensing clips and podcast stuff. And
so they weren't even producing original content?
Some of them might have been, but specifically in Tim Pool's case, they were taking like clips and putting it on their thing. They were licensing and funding parts
of the crazier.
Yeah.
If someone shows up with a briefcase full of $1 billion and they're like, okay, so what do you want me to make? Oh no, you don't have to make anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep, you have to literally do nothing. We're just licensing clips from your existing show to put on this other channel.
Now have fun buying the local skate park with all this money. Yeah, and like we said, we'll get into the Tenet corporate structure and the details of the indictment next, but let's take a quick peek at the type of videos that they were putting up over there. These are just some of the recent videos on the official Tenet Media YouTube page. CIA and FBI at war with Alex Jones. Woke police are not woke police are not doing their jobs. Illegals are in your city. The war on men, and this one obviously has Charlie Kirk in it. Migrant crime is surging. Harry Potter's betrayal of J.K. Rowling.
They're playing all the hits.
Protesters are all ugly, and that one features the quartering. We are being replaced. San Francisco Pride. The slippery slope is very real. Canada is becoming a communist hellhole. Should we feel bad for Harvey Weinstein's victims?
Wait, what?
The media is lying about Project 2025, and so on and so forth.
I wasn't aware the Harvey Weinstein thing was a culture war issue. I was under the impression that what he did was bad, and we should feel bad for his victims because he sexually assaulted them and then had them blacklisted from Hollywood. But hey, maybe there's
this
a
is the kind of stuff that Tenet loves, and they saw that clip and they were like, cool, let's put that on our own platform.
So the info section of Tenet Media explains that the company is a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. Our goal is to support creators who question institutions that believe themselves to be above question. In our view, all issues du jour merit rigorous and honest discussion if one wants to come closest to the truth. For those interested in authentic coverage of the topics that matter most, Tenet Media is your home for content. Fearless voices live here.
And then you could assume, a couple steps down, they also said, and we love their warm water ports.
Yes. So yeah, it's all hilariously shameful in retrospect, or shameless, I guess. But now that you've got an idea of the content that's being produced for this company and by whom, let's check out the DOJ's indictment itself to see how this all went down. Links to the press release, indictment, and anything else we reference will be down in the description below. An indictment charging Russian nationals Konstantin Kalashnikov, 31, also known as Kostya, and Elena Afanasieva, 27, also known as Lena, with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA, and conspiracy to commit money laundering, was unsealed today in the Southern District of New York. Kalashnikov and Afanasieva are at large.
According to the court documents, RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. Over at least the past year, RT and its employees, including Kalashnikov and Afanasieva, deployed nearly $10 million to covertly finance and direct a Tennessee-based online content creation company, U.S. Company One, now known to be Tenet Media. In turn, Company One published English-language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Since publicly launching in or about November 2023, U.S. Company One has posted nearly 2,000 videos that have garnered more than 16 million views on YouTube alone. Many of the videos posted by Company One contain commentary on events and issues in the U.S., such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic and foreign policy. While the views expressed in the videos are not uniform, most are directed to publicly stated goals of the government of Russia and RT, to amplify domestic divisions in the United States. In order to carry out RT's secret influence campaign in the United States, Kalashnikov and Afanasieva operated under covert identities. Posing as an outside editor, Kalashnikov edited content, monitored funding and hiring, and introduced Afanasieva as a member of his purported editing team. Using the fake personas Helena Shudra and Victoria Pesti, Afanasieva posted and directed the posting of hundreds of videos.
Afanasieva also collected information from and gave instructions to Company One staff. For example, after the March 22, 2024 terrorist attack on a music venue in Moscow, Afanasieva asked one of Company One's founders to blame Ukraine and the United States for the attack, writing, "I think we can focus on the Ukraine-US angle." The mainstream media spread fake news that ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack, yet ISIS itself never made such statements. All terrorists are now detained while they were heading to the border with Ukraine, which makes it even more suspicious why they would want to go to Ukraine to hide. And they go on to talk about the wire transfers and shell companies in places like the UAE and Turkey, which would eventually land in the pockets of the previously mentioned influencers. So now that we've covered the overall scope of this project, let's look at some of the important details as it relates directly to those influencers. And here's Will Sommer writing for the Washington Post.
Most of the 6 members of Tenet's talent team claim they did not know the money was coming from Russia. Canadian activist Lauren Southern has not issued a statement as of this writing. The indictment alleges that Tenet's founders and Russian backers misled at least 2 of them, Poole and Rubin, about the source of Tenet's funding by inventing a fictitious Belgian investor named Edouard Grigorian.
Hello, I am Edouard Grigorian, Belgian investor.
The news that some of the right's biggest online stars had apparently unwittingly taken millions from the Kremlin provoked a wave of schadenfreude from their critics. On X, never-Trump conservative writer Christian Vanderbroek quipped that Tenet stars managed to see conspiracy theories everywhere, yet never questioned why a mysterious Belgian was paying them to prop up a little-watched YouTube channel. Lauren Chen and her husband aren't named in the indictment, but Tennessee corporate records identify them as Tenet founders. Prosecutors allege that the founders knew their funding was coming from Moscow and privately acknowledged in messages to each other that their backers were Russian.
This is so stupid. This is...
Well, we're lucky it was so stupid because they got caught.
Yeah, I just... Like, this is just... It's so funny because, like, obviously the whole, like, Russia trying to influence America, it's been going on at this point for nearly a decade.
Well, more, but in the most recent aspect of it, yes.
In this context, and, like... In terms of, like, how it's worked before this, it hasn't, you know, it hasn't been the way a lot of liberals picture it, where, like, half the people I'm talking to on Twitter are, like, Russian paid shills and bots and shit. It's been, you know...
There is that, but...
I mean, it exists, but it's mostly just be like, let's create a bunch of fucking, like, Facebook pages to, like, get people riled up.
They are fanning the flames of everything that's already happening and making it worse. That's the whole point.
But, like, something like this, we haven't seen anything on this level. In all the years since, like, the Russiagate stuff...
Cambridge Analytica was a pretty fucking big deal.
I mean... Maybe, but we're talking about, like, actually literally Russians hiring Americans to spout Russian propaganda. That's not something that's happened. And it is very funny to me that in 2024, when the whole Russiagate stuff is kind of just something people see as, like, a thing of the past, something like this comes up, and it's like, oh, okay. A lot harder to, like, hand wave this one away.
It is.
Anyway, Chen, who uses the social media handle Roaming Millennial, is well connected on the right. She has 572,000 YouTube subscribers on her own channel, and until recently hosted 2 online shows for Glenn Beck's website, The Blaze. In an email, Blaze CEO Tyler Cardin said Lauren Chen was an independent contractor whose contract has been terminated. The article goes on to talk about the financing again and how it was divvied up amongst the team of creators. Dave Rubin, received $400,000 a month for 16 videos, plus a performance bonus and a $100,000 signing bonus, all for a series in which Rubin commented on dumb internet clips that often received just roughly 1,000 views per episode. Jesus. Tenet also proved lucrative for Poole, who made $100,000 per episode for a weekly show he hosted, according to prosecutors, but he did not get that bonus. Nope, not as good of a negotiator as Dave Rubin. The same month that Tenet launched, Poole purchased a skate park in Martinsburg, West Virginia, as well as other significant real estate purchases in the same area. Rubin and Poole initially asked for more information about where the money was coming from, prompting the Russians to invent Edouard Grigorian, a fictional Belgian banker committed to free speech, the indictment states.
Jesus Christ.
You Google the name. See, like, okay, Edward Gregorian, Belgian investor.
Someone has got to have been talking about this guy throughout the past couple of years.
This guy must have some fucking evidence that he exists on the internet.
Not just a one sheet that was provided by the Russians, or maybe on what I assume, because we'll get to another part of this investigation where they had just a bunch of websites that were operating. But like, if you see a website where like the only info about this guy is on a website that you've never fucking heard of before, that you should be a little more suspicious.
Just zero due diligence. And like, you know, like I'm the stuff about parroting Russian talking points directly because Russia paid you to do it, like that's bad, but it's like, okay, that seems like it's not surprising for this crowd of people. But the fact that they're just not doing any due diligence, I'm just like, that makes me lose respect.
As just like one example, I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, an underwear company approached us. One Google search led to the CEO of that company's Twitter page, which was filled with crazy right-wing shit. And just that alone, I was like, no.
Yeah, we do more due diligence for our advertisers.
Fucking, like Black Rifle coffee companies like approached us. There's a couple more that are just like bizarre to the point where you're like, this feels like a trap.
Yeah, an Israeli company almost got us, but we caught him at the last second.
That's right, yeah.
But like, again, like that's, when someone's paying you to represent them, due diligence is something you should get up to, and they didn't do any of that fucking shit. Anyway, Gregorian's name was misspelled, come on many documents, and the influencers could find no evidence online that he worked at the real bank where he claimed to have made his money. But hey, the check cleared.
Yeah. There's a whole lot more, including one section of the indictment where one of the founders tried to connect with someone at the parent company for overdue invoices, and when they didn't get an immediate response, went ahead, opened up a tab, and searched for what time it was in Moscow.
So she fucking knew, Lauren and her husband.
Also, a pretty funny part where Tenet Media was upset by the lack of viewership the channel was getting and insisted that the hosts weren't doing enough to promote the brand, which is, it's funny because that's a conversation that literally anyone who's worked in online media has had with their bosses at one point or another.
Well, it's, yeah. And like I was comparing this
Turn on the viral hose.
Like Machinima would always, like in Machinima's like heyday where they had, the VC money was flowing, they'd be like, hey, this YouTuber's getting like millions of views per video. Let's pay him like a stupid amount of money to make a video that we put on our channel. And then they're like, why isn't this getting views? And it's like, okay, first of all, it's because you're publishing 50 videos a day and it just gets completely lost. But second of all, you didn't include promotion in the contract, you fucking idiot. That costs more money. You have to state the terms of promotion. Otherwise, they're not going to tell their fans to go watch this video.
Also, that creator you're never going to get the spillover of views that they would get on their own channel. So dumb. Anyways, yes, it's a very common conversation, or at least it was when the industry existed.
Yeah, I'll make your content, but if you want me to tweet about it, that's going to cost you extra. You got to put that in writing.
So in another very funny admission within the indictment, the founders talk about promoting the video of Tucker Carlson visiting the grocery store in Russia, but they thought it was too obvious.
Yeah, that was the one where he's like, wow, these shopping carts, you have to pay a quarter to unlock them. And that's, you know, that means that people aren't stealing them.
And you get your quarter back and you return it.
Motherfucker, you been to an Aldi?
No, he's never been.
Like, yeah, he's just like really just showing his ass. Just like, I have never actually been to
any grocery store, any
real place in America, the country that I constantly say is going to shit.
Even the people operating this Russian-backed company were like, this is too obvious.
Yeah, so on or about February 15th, Afantsieva shared a video of a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia.
Oh, who could that be?
Who could that? Side note, I fucking love in these government indictments. We saw this with, like, I think the one in Georgia with Trump, where, like, I don't know the exact reasons, but when they don't name names.
Yeah.
They list.
But it's very obvious.
They designate people with specific designations, like
commentator one or whatever.
But it's like, it's so fucking easy to just do like a little bit of connecting the dots and figuring out exactly who each of these people are.
Also very funny, a screenshot from CBS News where they blur.
Oh, yeah.
They blur Tim Pool's face.
You can see the Timcast on the wall.
You can see it has a beanie on and everything.
I wonder who that could be. I mean, it could have been anyone. Is that Dr. Disrespect?
I bet he's really upset that he didn't get to cash in on this.
Yeah,
he's probably desperate for some kind of money now.
Anyways, Afantsieva posted the video in the producer Discord channel. Later that day, producer 1 privately messaged founder 2 on Discord. They want me to post this, but it just feels like overt shilling. Founder 2 replied that Founder 1 thinks we should put it out there. Producer 1 acquiesced, responding, all right, I'll put it out tomorrow. They literally thought Tucker Carlson was shilling too hard for Russia. Woo. But before we leave the Washington Post article behind and look into how these influencers responded to the indictment, we have to share this part because it's too good. As the indictment news shook up the right-wing media world, much of the reaction, naturally, came in the form of YouTube live streams. On his show Wednesday, Poole claimed that he was skateboarding when he heard of the indictments and said he talked to Chen, the head of a company that was paying him $100,000 a week, only twice in the past year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have missed that news. I was out skateboarding.
Wonder who that's. I was doing sick tricks at the skate park, the local skate park that I stole from the local community.
They hate me for it. Yeah. Insane. And look, I'm going to get a little serious here for a moment because, as you all know, I have family members who are brain poisoned. I just want to point out, obviously, everyone is in the right to make fun of people like Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Lauren Southern, and all them for unwittingly promoting Russian disinformation. And it's even funnier that they didn't even have to, like, coax them into it. They're just like, just keep doing what you're doing. This is working out great.
Yeah.
And look, there are no shortage of jokes about how much of a waste of money it was considering how low the views were on the Tenet Media page. But I feel like everyone who's joking about it is missing a bigger picture here. They were getting paid absurd amounts of money to do very little extra work. And based on their own admissions about being influenced or not, these are all things they actually believe and promote regardless.
Yeah, it's not like they had to really change anything up.
Now, sure, this seems like a giant waste of money for Russia, but it's honestly just a drop in the bucket for them. Meanwhile, the amount of money that was directly funding these guys perpetuates their success and existence on YouTube and elsewhere. It's not like they're good. That money extends the rest of their shows. It funds all of the other stuff. It's not just going away. And it has raised their status among literal members of the GOP. They bought property, they funded productions, they paid employees, they bought fucking Cybertrucks and skate parks. This isn't just a case of, oh, well, they did a failed channel that failed, haha. No, they're still making this exact type of content on their own with the added bonus of a few $1 million to fund the whole thing. And also, we all know how algorithms work by now. Any engagement with their personal channels or the ones that were directly tied to Tenet Media would send a user down a rabbit hole filled with more of this exact type of garbage. Just because a massive amount of people weren't consuming it directly from the Tenet Media page on YouTube doesn't mean they weren't having this served to them elsewhere either. Also, no shortage of jokes about how dumb their viewers must feel right now. But their viewers would have to have a shred of self-reflection to feel that way, or the ability to question the narrative that they've been blasted with for a decade now. Every hot take is made under the impression that you're dealing with rational people and not willfully stupid assholes with the worst intention who have been slowly brain poisoned since at least 2016. And every joke is being made under the impression that their viewers will just see the news and say, oh, I guess I was fooled. You got me. I'll be normal now.
No such luck.
Sorry, as someone who has lost family members to conservative brain rot, this legitimately pisses me off. I spoke to family members about this, and when one of them found out about the accusations and how they were related to Russia, he flipped and claimed that it was fake news perpetuated by Democrats to attack free speech. So no, I don't think this is all one big joke. Though there are a bunch of funny sublines. There's a lot of funny stuff.
Certainly.
Like how much Tim Pool seems to be freaking out because he's quite literally posting.
Tim, this is your lawyer. I'm asking you to keep on posting that shit.
Keep posting.
So yeah, in response to the indictment, most of the content creators claimed that actually they're the victims, despite getting paid millions of dollars in the process. Tim Pool had a unique response because his was clearly not run past any kind of legal counsel and was therefore deleted and edited to not further incriminate himself. The first statement he made claimed that the DOJ indictment was leaked, when it was actually made public and released alongside a press release. He also added a part to clarify that he didn't produce content explicitly for Tenet and that they were licensing his podcast. He claims that never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show, and the contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include discussing spirituality, dating, and video games.
He forgot to add dating or the lack thereof.
Yeah. This man notoriously, it's not me. It's the women's fault.
There's a famous clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is funny because sure, I mean, I guess they talk about a bunch of stuff, but claiming that it's apolitical is insane. Although I still to this day see people being like, why are you calling Tim Pool a conservative?
He's a centrist.
He's a centrist liberal. Like,
no, he's not.
What the fuck are you talking about? It's been so long. Like, you could maybe make that claim like 8 years ago.
Not even like, longer than that, because he originally got his start filming Occupy Wall Street.
Filming Occupy Wall Street and getting like kicked out of Zuccotti Park because people were like, why are you filming me? I don't want my face on the internet.
Yeah.
Anyway, also, it is cool to admit that they didn't have to trick you into spreading Russian talking points. You did it. You would have done it anyway. You claim in the statement that you have full editorial control. You were already taking the side that the Russians wanted you to take to sow division here. That's why they picked you.
That's the whole reason.
Yeah.
So after the statement was released, he started up with a lot of random bullshit and contradictory statements that many took at face value. Upon reflection, I now understand that Ukraine is our greatest ally.
Oh, sure.
As the breadbasket of Europe and a peace-loving people, we cannot allow the fascist Russians to continue their crimes against humanity. We must redouble our efforts and provide an additional $200 billion at once. Oh, wow. Oh, has Tim Pool finally changed? No, he's being an asshole on purpose.
He's trolling.
Here's more of the post in just the past 24 hours. I am now pro-war. We must fund Israel and Ukraine. I remember back when they said I was funded by the CIA. Then it was right-wingers. Now it's the Russians. Tomorrow it will be, I don't know, like Poland or something. Slava Ukraini. I have been contacted by the FBI as a potential victim of a crime. The FBI believes I have information relevant to an ongoing criminal investigation and have requested a voluntary interview. I will be offering my assistance in this matter. All right, that last one I do believe. I do believe that the FBI has contacted Tim Pool and that he definitely is cooperating.
I would hope so for his sake.
But I'm still finding it a little hard for him to play the victim card after allegedly receiving hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for no extra work and just simply not questioning where that obscene amount of money was coming from after getting some BS story about a fake investment.
Also, what happens to that money?
You would assume that they, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. He definitely already spent it.
Yeah, I mean, but like, if you unknowingly receive money indirectly through a bunch of fucking channels from a government that we are currently like sanctioning, you know, obviously, even if you didn't know anything about all that, like that money is dirty. So where does it fall legally? What happens to it?
They're going to have to repossess that slapper truck.
Yeah.
Aww.
They're going to have to put up tape around that skate park.
Sad. Hey, hopefully it goes back to the locals.
Yeah. Also, this might just be the tip of the iceberg. It's certainly suspicious that many members of Congress seem to regurgitate a lot of these same talking points.
Yeah.
And as for how the larger right-wing media sphere reacted to this news, well, I'm sure it's exactly what you already assumed. Here are some clips from Fox News and Newsmax. Please enjoy.
They're saying we're not going to put up with foreign interference. Your thoughts?
All of it is striking, and all of it is disconcerting that foreign governments would try to meddle in our U.S. elections. What's particularly problematic, though, is our Department of Justice and FBI are the least credible people to talk about this. Given the information operations they ran against the American people with their Russia collusion hoax, with their cover-up of the Hunter Biden laptop in which they lied about the situation.
The DOJ seems to be back to Russia, because they announced indictments against Russians for alleged election interference. What's going on here? Are they laying the groundwork for more censorship?
Well, the reality is they already did this in 2016. So they have a historical practice when they're afraid of Donald Trump coming back to office. They invent every figment of imagination of Russia or somebody else putting him there without actually paying attention to the threats coming from our own administrative state to free and fair elections in the United States.
This show tonight has all the earmarks of Russian propaganda.
You know, this is just mindless, a mindless attempt to create a Russian boogeyman where there really isn't one.
Tim Pool and Benny Johnson, $400,000 a month for a weekly video that would go out to their millions of followers.
$400,000 a month?
Yes, more than Hunter Biden was making.
You know, I'm available too if you want to pay me for that money.
So the news regarding the actual real-life influencers unwittingly creating content backed by Russia also coincides with a greater investigation into massive disinformation efforts from the Kremlin. Included in their investigation was a man named Ilya Gambashidze, who runs a Russian IT company and has already been sanctioned by the EU. This guy was named by the DOJ for orchestrating yet another disinformation campaign, which was literally called the Good Old USA Project.
Okay.
Here's Wired with more on that. On Wednesday, Gambashidze and his company were named by the U.S. Department of Justice among the architects of a disinformation campaign known as Doppelganger that has for the past 2 years been targeting Ukraine and more recently U.S. elections. The Doppelganger campaign uses AI-generated content on dozens of fake websites designed to impersonate mainstream media outlets such as The Washington Post and Fox Business, using a network of fake social media accounts to disseminate pro-Russian narratives targeting audiences across the globe.
On Wednesday, the Justice Department announced the seizure of 32 internet domains that it says are linked to the Doppelganger campaign, which violate U.S. money laundering and criminal trademark laws. Today's announcement exposes the scope of the Russian government's influence operations and their reliance on cutting-edge AI to sow disinformation, FBI Director Christopher Wray said in a statement. Companies operating at the direction of the Russian government created websites to trick Americans into unwittingly consuming Russian propaganda. And the goal of the campaign from the beginning was crystal clear: to secure victory for Donald Trump. Gambashidze wrote on the Good Old USA Project planning document. As well as getting Trump elected, the campaign's secondary goals included increasing the percentage of Americans who believe the U.S. is doing too much to aid Ukraine to 51%, and reducing the percentage of Americans who have confidence in President Joe Biden down to 29%. The plan lists a variety of audiences the campaign specifically wants to target, including residents of swing states, American Jews, U.S. citizens of Hispanic descent, and the community of American gamers.
Uh-oh, they targeted gamers.
Users of Reddit and image boards such as 4chan. The document describes this category of gamers and chat room users as the backbone of the right-wing trends in the U.S. segment of the internet. So you ain't wrong about that.
No. And Ryan Riley of NBC News and author of the book Sedition Hunters, which I read a few months ago, very good book, he posted the documents from the DOJ's case regarding these Russian propaganda efforts. And let's just take a propaganda at the topics Russians want people to focus on. There is a feeling among Republicans that the president's policies, censorship on social media, and the policies of the Democrats' government are encroaching on their rights. They are dissatisfied of dramatic decline in the standard of living and large expenditures on offensive policy of the United States in Europe and Ukraine. They are afraid of losing the American way of life and the American dream. It is these sentiments that should be exploited in the course of an information campaign in/for the United States.
Okay. And here are those topics, which literally read as if they could be coming straight from the mouths of members of the GOP, including the Trump campaign. Topics include encroaching universal poverty, record inflation, halting of economic growth, unaffordable prices for food and essential goods, risk of job loss for white Americans, privileges for people of color, perverts, and disabled, constant lies of the Democrats' administration about the real situation in the country, threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants, including new immigrants from Ukraine, overspending on foreign policy and at the expense of interests of white U.S. citizens, constant lies to voters by Democrats in power, and last but not least, America is suffering a defeat despite Biden/Harris efforts. We are being drawn into war. Our guys will die in Ukraine.
And yeah, a lot of that stuff, specifically the stealing of jobs, it sounds like something you would hear at a Trump rally.
No, Trump only talked about black jobs.
Ah, yes, that's the confusion. You can't get me on that.
These Ukrainian immigrants, they're bringing crime. They're stealing black jobs.
So they then list the target audience of such a campaign, and you already know what it is. But
here's the most gullible group of people in this country who will just eat up whatever slop we pour down their gullet.
So the list of the target audience is Republican voters, Trump supporters, supporters of traditional family values, and white Americans representing the lower middle and middle class.
Oh, I thought they were going to say Democrats.
Well, there's so much more to this one, including using what they call perishable accounts on social media that can spread whatever message they want and then be deleted. This, as well as the actual indictment relating to Tenet Media, are, of course, linked down in the description below. And hell, that was a lot. But it's all important stuff to be aware of as we inch closer and closer to Election Day, because even though these specific efforts are now exposed, there's no doubt that these exact tactics are still playing out elsewhere.
Yeah, this can't just be isolated.
So please do yourself a favor and read all those articles that are attached below, including the indictments themselves, and just be wary when you're out there surfing the internet. I mean, it took the whole episode, but I did kind of want to talk about that gigantic flop of a game that Sony released and then took offline after, what, a week or two?
Can you imagine working on a video game for 8 years and it doesn't last 2 weeks?
What do you mean a full-priced hero shooter in 2024 isn't going to be successful?
Oh, it's not even free?
No,
Yeah,
it's not money.
That's stupid.
Yes.
What the hell were they thinking?
But here's the quick version. Sony spent years developing a hero shooter game called Concord. Problem is, trends change. Nobody really wants the game right now, especially if they have to spend money on it. They were charging money for a game, a hero shooter, at a time where there are no shortage of free-to-play games that people can try out instead of spending a bunch of money. Games that are already well ingrained in the gaming scene.
Yeah.
Overwatch, shit like that. Valorant.
Doesn't Valve have a hero shooter coming out?
Coming out, yeah.
Yeah.
So the player count was so embarrassingly low that Sony decided to just pull the game entirely and refund people their money, which, that's nice, I guess.
Yeah.
Still, the players that did purchase the game, they really wanted to unlock all those trophies before it went offline. And they quickly figured out that if you can just throw yourself off a cliff in the game and rapidly earn enough XP to unlock the game's platinum trophy. So there are no shortage of clips of matches starting and everyone immediately running to the edge and jumping off the map.
Hey, good for them.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
Also, hey.
Did you see the Minecraft trailer?
Yep. Gamers, get ready. You asked for it, you got it. There's a Minecraft movie and it's got a trailer. And this movie cost at least $150 million, and you can see every red cent of that on screen.
Speaking of legitimate stuff, this could have been done by a child.
Yeah, this could have been done by like a 19-year-old machinima maker in 2013.
For like 10 grand.
And it would have looked better.
Probably. What I think is funny about this is that I think that it might do well. I don't think it'll be as well received as maybe the Super Mario Brothers movie, because that had decades of fandom. Whereas Minecraft, I mean, I know that it's big, but it really
is it though? I feel like everyone's moved on to Roblox at this point.
It did peak like about 10 or 12 years ago, so it's not as if it has a multi-generational fan base. Also, like, the cultural relevance compared to a simple Kai Cenat iShowSpeed stream, the game is going to get, like, they're getting so many more views than this would ever get. And it goes back to one of my favorite recent quotes from Harmony Korine, who called iShowSpeed the modern Tarkovsky.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you there, sir.
I agree with him wholeheartedly. And the response that I saw from this quote multiple times online was, well, have you ever seen Tarkovsky jump over a car? Okay. Elliot, have you?
No. That's a good point.
They know how to entertain. So there you go.
And even if he could, I mean, we're talking like a Russian car in the 80s. Very small, very easy to jump over.
Like, this is my, I don't, just like Super Mario Brothers, I don't really care. What I care about is the egregious waste of money that could have produced multiple incredible films if given to young up-and-coming filmmakers.
Yeah.
You can literally right now, look at all the horror movies that came out this year and what their budgets are and how well they're doing.
Yeah. Maybe people's appetite for slop is finally waning.
We'll see. I mean, this isn't out yet. It could. This is like Strike 3 from Jack Black, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Time to go.
Sold out his friend, played Claptrap in Borderlands, and is the guy in whatever, Minecraft.
He's Minecraft Steve.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, please like the video. Thank you very much. Of course, it is not sponsored. You know,
round of applause for this video.
We had to Google what time it was in Moscow, but no one answered. So now it's up to you to join as a paid member, so that you know, we can do honest work here. Thank you so much to our paid members.
You can be our Russia.
Yeah, click the join button. Do it now. Also, we have plenty more for you to watch. We have a new video. Somehow, just the hits keep coming this week. You got Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman doing a hot new scam that involves AI, and you should definitely check out that video. Also, we'll be back for some weird news very soon, so stay tuned for that, and leave a like, leave a comment, talk about it below, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Bertram Buddies, the world's only Mr. Bertram fan podcast. Joining me as always is my co-host, Count Dracula. Good evening. Unfortunately, this will be our first and only episode. As it turns out, there is no interest in a podcast about Mr. Bertram, either from advertisers or audiences, or for that matter, from me, the host. What's that? You don't know who Mr. Bertram is? Okay, asshole, I'll tell you. Mr. Bertram is an adult animated sitcom produced by the Bog Monsters at the Daily Wire. And literally, nobody made me watch it. Nobody asked for this. It's created by and stars Adam Carolla as the titular Senior Bertram, a middle school woodshop teacher who, let's just say, well, I don't actually know all that much about him, come to think of it. Not a strong character. He's kind of always grousing about everything. He has a deeply irritating voice.
Love our new parking spots. This year, the school finally shows us they actually appreciate what we do.
But other than that, I wouldn't say he has much in the way of personality in the conventional sense. But what he lacks in personality, good comedy seems effortless, spontaneous, magical. Mr. Bertram is a great reminder of how much effort it actually requires. The exact amount? A little bit more than was put into this.
Who'd you have to win? Sure thing.
We are to believe that this is a passion project for Mr. Carolla, who's been thinking about and developing this character ever since he originally came up with him to call into a radio station and do a funny voice, and then later used him as a puppet for the puppet prank call program Crank Yankers, which, if you were born in this century, you mercifully aren't familiar with. In the intervening decades, he couldn't think of anything the character might want to say or do, or a story to tell with him, but he claims he did pitch this cartoon to a number of mainstream media networks, who all rejected it for not being woke enough or some lame-wad excuse like that. Having watched the currently available first season, I don't think that's true. Not even a little bit. There is very little to be offended by.